one thing that I find interesting within the Jay Slater case is the attitude by the general public to a varying degree. Now, in the earlier days of when the case was active, at some point there would have been a divide and split between those that think it's an accident and those that think there's more to it, foul play, murder, and beyond. And more so in recent time, with it coming to a bit of a head, a close with the inquest, the autopsy, and it being deemed as an accident, when someone like me steps on in to provide a bit of perspective and understanding and a bit of coverage to give the updates because of my followers, because of what I've covered very briefly, the resistance from the human race at times is very questionable to the extent of where you're not allowed to have freedom of speech and you're not allowed to suggest certain stuff. The typical responses are, you need to let it go, you need to stop. Let it go? Who started in the first place? Only a couple of videos have been made. Other creators out there have made 50 to 100 plus videos, and some may still go on or have gone on not that long ago, right? There's a difference between making 5 or 6 videos and then people that have made 50 to 100 plus, right? So I think there's quite a few impetuous humans out there that don't understand that concept and process. But furthermore, with more importance, there's a high degree of impetuous people that don't understand language, wording, and communication, right? The aspect of balance, putting it into perspective, the possibilities, what one may think or believe, what it could suggest as an alternative to the supposed original truth, right? It's not about stating it as a fact, it's about stating it as an opinion and being careful with it. In the past, there would have been moments in the Jay Slater case where humans would have either provided some material recklessly or stated something as a theory, but the language and wording, it's been wrapped up as a fact, which may not hold much substance, and so on. Then when it eventually unwinds or unfolds, it turns out to be a whole lot of nothing, a whole lot of hot air. What good did that do? As said, there have been times where humans were pushing other people back, whether that be volunteers going out to search, receiving death threats or threats. What's that all about? Seems a bit unnecessary. Maybe as a prank, maybe as a darker reason. And with the whole situation with the mother of Jay receiving that WhatsApp message about Jay owes us a lot of money, you're not going to see him again alive. That's a bit strange as well. Could have been done as a sick prank. There's always that possibility. But this is the thing. Besides the human race at times being problematic with their attitudes and either giving up too soon or pushing people back for simply having freedom of speech and an opinion, unusual. You got to link back to the original source of from Jay's friends to family and in between, that whole GoFundMe set up as a means of gaining help and support to either bring Jay back, to get the services to find him in the early stages. An act of public support, an act of reaching out to the general public. And what's normally associated with true crime cases, missing person cases, is when the family or friends get involved and want involvement by the general public, down the line when that help is no longer needed, or when it feels like there's a pushback, or when the family or friends feel like enough is enough or it's going too far, and there's a form of rejection, or that's how it can feel within the general public. They feel disrespected. The fact that, you reached out to us, we helped you, and now you're throwing it back in our face. It can be a few blurred lines. It can be a bit tricky at times in understanding the process of it all. But it's that involvement. Once you involve the general public in some way, you have to expect and anticipate there can be a backlash in some way down the line, where it's justified or not. And with Debbie mentioning about the trolls, the creators, the online detectives online, they've done no good, they've not done much good, etc., etc. And maybe to some extent that can be true. When it comes to a genuine creator covering a case and putting it into perspective with appropriate language, it's not the end of the world. There is such a thing as spreading awareness online to get a story out, to provide other understandings. And who was that individual? Was it Mark Williams or some detective, some guy that was on the Madeleine McCann case in the past, a bit more of a high-profile individual of a certain role and authoritative figure that participated in the Jay Slater case, and at times was pushing the idea of criminal underground networks and connections there with Jay Slater, the watch, drug dealing, possibly being abducted by a yacht or a boat and all of that. Was that said by the general public? No. Was that said directly by the creators? No, it might have been influenced by it, as in what, was it Mark Williams or whatever his name is, that suggested it or considered it with certain language, and then people took on board that and then ran with it and went on and on and on. But then you've got the official media news groups and the pages and the media out there that have participated as well. It's not just all collectively all on the detectives and armchair detectives, and people like to use that term towards me. Am I in an armchair? No, I'm sat on a bed. Get it right. So I mean levels of impetuous humans that jump on in and jump the gun. See, I'm aware and have experienced that with other cases at times when it's back and forth, when the actual evidence and proof does come through, and it is what it is, and people still don't believe in it or aren't convinced, so they keep on pushing their own ideas. It's like flogging a dead horse or something. It's like, enough is enough, it's now time to stop. And I think that's what the attitude is with a few people from TikTok, maybe on YouTube here and there, about stop covering the case. But there have been times where I've covered cases which are still ongoing and active, and people have said stop covering it. And that sounds really counterproductive when the aims are to keep the case alive. But in this case, it's over and done with, supposedly. But what I find interesting is how many of the humans saying you need to stop, it needs to end, it's done, it's dusted. How many of those people would be the same people to actually participate and watch the Jay Slater documentary? Oh, the Jay Slater documentary is more so to tell the original story, the whole truth and nothing but the truth, and that's why people will watch it, and that's the whole point, the awareness. I think humans need to actually rewind, look, listen, learn, and know their place when it comes to watching, for example, my videos in recent time, which is very scarce in the amount because I've been focused on other cases, active ones still ongoing, right? And balancing it out. The Jay Slater video or videos that I've done recently, I said in my own words that it does seem more likely an accident, what I think, based on the circumstances of dehydration, side effects from those drugs taken, maybe improper hiking gear, lack of hiking experience, one thing leading to another, panic, irrational thoughts, trying to get somewhere where it's not quite practical without the equipment, dehydration, disorientated, improper thinking, perception impacted, dizziness, side effects from drugs. It's a disaster waiting to happen. And in that certain environment, under those circumstances and the temperature and the heat, it can all incorporate and lead to a fatal fall, a trip, a stumble, collapsing, lack of consciousness, and so on. I did a video within, I think the mention of the bag or the final message with Jay, one or the other, and yet humans somehow failed to watch that part. And you know why? Because people don't bother to actually watch the video all the way through to understand the actual message, to understand the original theme and the original opinions. Yes, I add in other questions and what other people may be thinking or suggesting, but I dial it back to what I believe and what I see. And in some ways, I think that it was an accident based on the circumstances of the dehydration, drugs in the system, and the lack of experience and being out in that type of terrain. It's very possible for an accident to happen and occur. Yes. But am I going to dismiss what other people think in other ways? No, because I provide that perspective. I provide that balance, right? I will think what I think, and I may stick with it, which I've done and demonstrated. Whether humans choose to listen or not, or what tends to happen, selective mind, goldfish mentality, jumps all in on the first 20, 30 seconds and then thinks they know it all and what I'm going to say next. And they tend to get it wrong. So when humans say, stop, don't do this, don't do that, why? What are you going to do about it? If you look, listen, and learn, you will understand the message behind the video and the conclusion to it. But because humans are lazy, impetuous, and have degenerative low attention spans, more so nowadays and more so on the TikTok platform, what do you expect from them? They're not going to know. They're not going to understand. But for the people that do stick around and understand, that's appreciated, right? So it's not that difficult. But the attitude within some humans out there is actually more questionable than maybe people's suspicion towards the family when it came to the GoFundMe, the ongoing one past that point. You know, the targets, what it was aimed for, and how it still continued on and on and on and on. But at the end of the day, it comes down to the general public and the contribution there. Just like when people like to complain about the creators and the armchair detectives and all of that, I made it very clear that in my video, the reason why humans will do that, the creators, and push and push and push and go out of the box beyond belief others and make hundreds of videos, is because it sells. It's unfortunate, but that's just what people do. But you'll always get genuine people that just consider it in multiple ways. And the more perspectives and viewpoints that you have, naturally, the more videos that can be made. If you are one-sided, small-minded, and you're not open, and you don't have a holistic outlook, and you're very biased, you'll probably only be able to make a few videos. But if you take it all into consideration, and you have that patience, that understanding, and that balance, it will open up more opportunities. And with more opportunities, more videos. It's common sense, and yet the human race can't seem to see that. What is going on? That's what's unusual. And furthermore, for the people that do complain about coverage on a case when it's towards the end or halfway through and it needs to stop or it needs to go away, that creators and influencers and so on, collectively and vaguely labelled as the problems, just remember that the audience that whinges and whines about it are the same people that are participating in that said problem, which they detest, because they are watching, which counts as a view. They are commenting, which counts as engagement, and that leads to total channel or a page growth. And it just acts as validation and confirmation that whatever's working is working, and that creator needs to continue on covering the case in a positive direction, in a natural direction, or for some, in a darker way. If you don't like something, then you don't do it. If you don't like something, you don't participate in it. But clearly, it's evident that those that whinge and whine and have the biggest gobs participate, direct or indirect. They're part of the problem which they talk about, but they won't see it that way because they don't want to take accountability. If you want to cut the head off the Hydra and you don't like others out there for creating or doing stuff, then you don't participate, you don't vote with your wallet. It's as simple as that. It's embarrassing. I'm sure humans will fail to watch all the way through this, but it's truly embarrassing, right? But for the people that do have that perspective and that patience and that understanding for and against, credit to those. I see it more on YouTube than I do on TikTok, but those that are skeptical about the Jay Slater case, I mean, they don't give me abuse, right? And I still look at it as an accident. So it can be a bit one-sided at times, right? So that's my thoughts on the matter. I think there'll probably be a lot of hypocrites about, as we see within true crime cases and missing person cases and tragedies. The general public can be massive hypocrites. There can be levels of double standards and so on. So it doesn't surprise me because I've got extensive experience there with analysing humans. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.